What is up, everybody? It's Easy Paradox. Had you with another week of great football coming this weekend. We're gonna go down the list of the top 25 teams. My heart is broken. Last week, my picks just didn't come to fruition. I was struggling. It was a terrible week, and a lot of you guys in the comments were calling me out on all the upsets that I had. But this week, we're gonna keep it simple. We're gonna have the winners win. There might be an upset or two in here, but it's not going to be like 6 upsets that I had last week. I just wanted the top teams to like change and like things like that, because a lot of the top teams weren't really playing that well. Like especially early on in the season, it was kind of hard to watch some of these like top 5 teams just like struggle in the first half against these like no-name teams. But let's get right into it. So the first game we have here is going to be Georgia versus Vanderbilt. This is going to be a slog. Super boring. Georgia's going to run up the score. I think they're won with the cover of the over, but today is going to be the day where Vanderbilt just gets absolutely dogged by Georgia. Georgia's going to go 56-7. It's going to be an easy game. I wouldn't watch it. It's just going to be so boring and not very entertaining. The next noon game is going to be Michigan and Indiana. If you notice, the top 3 teams, they're all at noon, so we have Michigan. They're just going to dominate Indiana. Indiana is not very good. They're probably one of the worst teams in the Big Ten right now, right there next to Purdue and Northwestern. But at least like Purdue and Northwestern like really put up fights. Indiana, they had a good run the first game of the season against Ohio State, and then after that it was all downhill from there. So I have Michigan winning 42-10. I think they're going to cover the over, but unless Michigan just takes out starters really early on, I think Michigan can easily get to 50 points with no problem, especially since their head coach is back for a couple weeks and they're just dominating teams at this point. There's no question. This game is Ohio State versus Purdue. Purdue is one of those teams that I love to watch against Ohio State. Purdue is the upset king. They are the Appalachian State to Michigan, where you don't know what's going to happen. 2018, Purdue upset Ohio State. But not this year. I think Ohio State's just going to handle business. They need to go undefeated or they're not getting into the playoffs. But I will say, this kind of sucks. This game is on Peacock exclusively. I know most of you guys don't have Peacock. I don't have Peacock. So most of us probably won't even see the game. We'll probably just see highlights later on in life. But I think Ohio State's going to win 42-17. I think it's going to be very slow at first. I think it's going to be like 10-10, 10-10 at half. Like halftime, and then Ohio State's going to turn on the burners and just take flight, because Ohio State's been really slow this year with their scoring. But maybe we might get lucky and Ohio State will just dominate first half and then just like throw their backups in, get some play time. The clock game is going to be Florida State, the 4th team. all of the top 4 teams are just playing no-name opponents. They're not necessarily no-name, but it's just a bunch of unranked teams, and it's going to be very slow for the top 4, and then even Penn State later on, we're going to talk about them, which is number 6. So, and then number 5 has a bye week, so like there's not going to be very much movement this week, because Florida State's going to dominate Syracuse. Syracuse has been a letdown in the last couple years. They start 4-5-0, and then they just fall like a rock in the ocean. They just go straight to the bottom. They just lose every game. It's kind of embarrassing for Syracuse. I always have high hopes for the Orange, but like they just kind of keep letting me down. So I have them winning 42-10, maybe even more than that. I was giving Syracuse a little generosity with some of the scoring. And Florida State, they've been scoring roughly around 30-some-ish points and some 40s on the high end. So 42 is a good number for them. The next noon game is going to be Alabama against Arkansas. Arkansas is probably one of the worst teams in the SEC next to like Vanderbilt and stuff. But Arkansas is going to lose this one 35-14. It's going to be easy cover for the 19.5. It's going to be just right there at 21. And I think the over is just cover. I think if Alabama shows up today and performs well, Arkansas is going to barely score 14 points. Alabama might score like 40-something. But this is generosity because Alabama's been a little iffy lately, especially in the first half. They kind of start out slow, just like Ohio State. So we'll see on like what happens in this game, but I do think Alabama is going to confidently win this one. The next game is going to be Utah versus Cal. This is exclusively on the Pac-12 network, and I hate the Pac-12 network. Last week I was going on with the announcer's microphone, but it was echoey. It sounded like they were like like in an open room, and it would sound like they were on like walkie-talkies. It was just really bad. I could not watch it with sound on. It was just hard to listen to. It just made the game even worse. But I do think Utah is going to win this, but I don't think they're going to win by that much because Utah's good, but like they're not good. They haven't really proven good to the caliber of like dominating teams just yet. So this will probably be a test of their skills. But I do think that's going to be a close game. I think Cal's going to put up a fight, even though Cal isn't very good. Cal has been putting up a lot of fight with the teams they have been playing. So I think it's going to be very close. And I would definitely go with the under on that one. The next game is going to be Penn State versus UMass. This is essentially another bye week. Penn State is just going win mode. They're going to go into the next week with their bye and then go on to Ohio State. They have to win. So this is essentially, we're going to rest our starters and we're just going to get the win and then just go on to next week. We don't want anyone to get hurt. We don't want anything processed. That's why I don't necessarily have this game super high scoring, just because I feel like Penn State's going to go up like 35-0 in the first half and then just rest everybody. They're going to throw their backups in the second half. UMass might score a late touchdown, but this is essentially just a bye week. It's a no-name game with a Penn State team that just needs to get ready for Ohio State, and they want to go to the national championship. They want to go. If you beat Michigan, they could beat Ohio State, and then keep going. But yeah, essentially this is gonna be a blowout game. I wouldn't watch it. It's not gonna be very fun. This is gonna be the big highlight game of the week: Oregon versus Washington. I would have had USC and Notre Dame, but Notre Dame currently has 2 losses, and USC is struggling at defense. They are struggling. They barely came off the win against Arizona. Yeah, but anyway, so back to the Oregon-Washington game. It's gonna be a dogfight. I think this game right here is a deciding game for who's gonna win the Pac-12, or at least be number 1 until the Pac-12 championship, and who's gonna go to the college playoff. And I think Washington is the team to do it. They have an immense starting lineups of seniors that are NFL caliber, and this is their year to shine, baby. This is their year to shine. I have them winning 35-31, just covering the -3 there, and just under the under here. I would have had a higher scoring game, but with their opponents, both these teams are very high scoring teams, and their opponents are very low scoring. So that means they have a good defense. And if they play against each other, that means their defense should hold true. So they shouldn't be scoring 50 points on each other unless their defenses are just bad. But they're not. They're holding teams to like 10. Maybe less points. So, like, I think it's going to be high scoring, but not, like, over the top, like LSU games where they're, like, 40 to 50-point games a game. The next 3:30 game is going to be Tennessee versus Texas A&M, and this is where I was talking about with the upsets. I have Texas A&M coming in here with the upset over Tennessee because I don't think Tennessee's that good. I think they're not very good. I don't think they should be ranked. And Texas A&M has proven that they can compete at the highest caliber with some of these teams. They just lose the games that they against ranked opponents, but it's very close, and they win the games they should rank. They beat. So I think Tennessee is going to lose this. This is pretty much a pick-em, -3. That's like just a field goal game, and I think Texas A&M is going to win by a touchdown. It's going to be 28-21, and if they win by anything less than that, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Texas A&M is definitely just a better team overall. The next 3:30 game is going to be Kansas versus the Oklahoma State, and they're going to be going up against this team. I think Kansas is a good team. They dominated UCF last week. I think they scored like 50 points. But against Texas, they were holding on. Okay, I watched the entire game, and 40 points does not tell you the exact story of that game. It was close till about like late in the third, and then Texas kind of just kept scoring. But that was a close game. For the most part of the game. So I think Kansas is a good team. I think they can win this. I don't think they're going to dominate like they did UCF, because UCF is like a shell of what they used to be. So I think it's going to be close, 21-17 over there in Oklahoma. But I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas took off and like scored a lot more points than that. But I would take this bet. I'm not a gambling man, but I would take the 3.5. It's screaming I can make money. Next 3:30 game is Pitt versus Louisville. Louisville is going to come in here, dominate, handle business. They're seeing Florida State in the championship game undefeated. They don't really play anybody. I think they play like Duke. I think Duke is next, and I don't think Duke is better than Louisville. So I think Louisville is going to go undefeated. They're going to play Florida State in the championship game. So right now they're just going to handle business. 35-7. This -8 is disrespectful. Pittsburgh -8 on a Pittsburgh team. Pittsburgh sucks. I was pulling up the video for this, And I was like looking at Pittsburgh's like overall stats. I was looking at Pittsburgh's overall stats, and I was like, they suck. Why is this a -8? I'm just so confused. I don't think they're going to hit the over, but I think Louisville's going to win 35-7. Like, it's going to be easy peasy, no question. Now we're moving on to the 7 o'clock games. We have Washington State versus Arizona State. It is on the Pac-12 network, so, to each their own if they want to watch that. I hope they fix their microphones. Hope they figured out what was going on with that, because that was hard to bear. So Washington State's coming off a heartbreaking loss. But I think the -8.5 is a disrespectful. I know Arizona just like competed with USC, but USC doesn't have defense. That coach does not know what defense is. So Washington State has a defense. I think they're going to win 35-20. I think Arizona's going to score a late touchdown to get up to 20, but I think it's going to be a pretty much solid game where Washington State is commanding the game overall. That over is huge, 60.5. I get Washington State scores a lot of points, but like Arizona last week was an anomaly. Next 7 o'clock game is going to be LSU versus Auburn. LSU's on the -11. I think they're going to cover that easily. LSU scores a lot of points, and I don't think Auburn's going to be able to keep up. I know Auburn kept up with Georgia, but that was at home. It was a little different environment. We're in Louisiana, and I think LSU's going to command late victory of this. They're probably the best 2-loss team in the league. I definitely think they're better than Notre Dame, so I think LSU's going to win this 42-14 easily. 7:30 game is going to be the primetime game, Notre Dame versus USC. It's unfortunate that Notre Dame lost 2 games. Just unfortunate, because this game would have been the defining game for Notre Dame to go to the playoffs. But they're not going to playoffs anymore because they have 2 losses and they don't have a conference. So their playoff dreams are gone. But I think Notre Dame's going to stick with it and they're going to stay in it. It's going to be a high-scoring game because USC doesn't have defense and Notre Dame struggles at defense. And their offenses are very explosive. I think it's going to be 42-38. It's going to be a very awkward score. I think Notre Dame's going to score like a field goal late in the game. And they're going to be down like 2. They're going to be down like 1 score. They're going to score a field goal. It's going to be 35 to something. It's going to be a weird score at the end. But like I think it's going to be very close. I think they're going to cover. It's definitely a pick 'em. -2.5. That's a field goal. It's just 1 field goal. So I got USC winning this. If they lose, it's because of their defense. Because USC just doesn't have any defense, and it would be astonishing if Notre Dame doesn't take advantage of the fact that USC's defense is that bad. Next 7:30 Eastern game is going to be another rank-on-rank matchup. It's not as big as the other games, but University of North Carolina versus Miami. I think this is going to be another upset. Miami was disrespected. They were thrown at the 25. They have 1 loss. I think they're going to upset North Carolina. This is going to give North Carolina their first loss. I know I said North Carolina's going to lose last week, but I had hope in Syracuse, and Syracuse let me down. But University of Miami is definitely a better team, and I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be 28-24. It's going to be somewhere in the 20 range. I don't think neither of the teams are going to score 30 unless it's going to be some late, like pick 6, kind of like with the LSU versus Missouri game. But I think it's going to be in the 20s. I don't think they're going to score the over on the 56. Next late night game, this could have been another big game. If Missouri and Kentucky won last week, this would be 2 undefeated teams going at it. Probably Kentucky be like in the top 10. Missouri would have been in like the top 15-ish, and because they would have proved that they had something. But they both lost, so Kentucky went down to 24. Missouri is now unranked. I think they're the first in. I think they had just under University of Miami, and I think Missouri's going to win. I think it's going to be 42-28. Kentucky, I don't believe in Kentucky. I'm not a believer in the Kentucky dream, but I do think Missouri is a good team, and they've shown they have a really good offense. Their defense, it could use some work, but I think their defense is fairly good, especially against LSU. LSU has a really explosive offense, so it was kind of like bound to happen where LSU kind of just took off at the end there. But I think the pick 'em -2.5 is kind of disrespectful. But I have Missouri winning by a lot, but I can see it going close. 8 o'clock game is going to be Oregon State versus UCLA, another rank-on-rank matchup. I didn't think UCLA was going to be jumped up to 18th. Like, I thought they were just going to squeeze their way in there at the end, but they got up there. They got up to 18th. That's crazy. I'm an Oregon State believer. I am not a UCLA believer this year. Oregon State was disrespected by the other conferences by not being offered an invite to their conference, and now they're talking about going to the Mountain West. That is disrespectful. Oregon State is going to show the world that they're good. So I have them winning 24-21. It's going to be very close. A very close game over there in Oregon State. They got that new stadium. It's going to be a great atmosphere for this game. I think UCLA is going to lose again, not because they're bad, just because they're just inexperienced. I think the quarterback situation at UCLA is they got a new quarterback. He's going to have the nerves. Oregon State has that transfer quarterback, veteran quarterback, and this is going to take off. So 21-24, that's going to be my pick. Duke versus NC State. Duke, the -3.5 is kind of disrespectful to Duke. I think NC State is a good program, but they're not as good as Duke. I think Duke is going to show the world that they are meant to be ranked, and they're going to dominate 28-17. I think they're going to show, just like the Washington State game in my prediction, I think NC State's going to score a last touchdown. It's going to be like 10-28 near the end, and I think Duke's going to be commanding the game the entire way. I don't know about covering the over at 48, but I do think that Duke's going to win the game. Next, we have our bonus content. We have Iowa versus Wisconsin. I am a believer that the Hawkeyes deserve another chance at the Big Ten title this year. I know they're a slog team. I know the games can be quite boring, and Iowa is missing their starting quarterback, so their offense has gotten significantly worse. The backup, they beat Purdue, but the backup performed was less to be desirable, and I think they have a chance. I think they have a chance to show the Wisconsin team. The Wisconsin team's not. I know that some people are saying that Wisconsin's the best team in the West, but Iowa has proven that they can go to the Big Ten title with only 8 wins. Like they don't need to win all their games, but they will win this game. Big rivalry game. I see Iowa winning. It's gonna be very low scoring. Their offense is not very good, but I think their defense is not as good as last year, but they can still hold Wisconsin to 17 points, and Iowa can get up there. They'll get up there. That's going to be it for this video. Please like and subscribe if you like the content. And that's going to be it. Peace.